Hi, it's Saturday afternoon and I'm going to do another one of my continuous Oxford videos. The last one I left off at the end of George Street, having talked about why George Street is so awful. And I have to say it hasn't improved since. The very first building I come to, the NatWest, National Westminster Bank, is still unused, and so is Debenhams. But I'm going to do another What Are People Doing today, walk round the city centre and see what sort of things are happening. The character of Oxford has changed quite a bit since I did the last one, because a lot of the tourists have gone and there seem to be more people, more local people, doing things like watching shows and shopping. And the first thing I noticed is that there's an enormous queue outside the new theatre here. So there's obviously some sort of show on there. Life After Romeo. It says Monday the 2nd to Saturday the 7th, and this is the 7th. I don't know anything about this. It could be, I suppose, taking it very literally, a sort of sequel to the Shakespeare play, or just something loosely based on Romeo and Juliet and what happened afterwards. But it's popular, whatever it is. I had friends who used to watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show. They always liked to get dressed up specially for the occasion. Apparently this was traditional. And I was just looking to see whether any of this audience are doing something similar, but I think not. Okay, well, that's Life After Romeo. And I know there's something going on in Gloucester Green because I've just been there and I've just had a cappuccino and 2 Hungarian strudels made with apple from the chef's home village. Nice mixture of sweet, mouth-filling fullness and not too tart. You wouldn't get that out of a Granny Smith or a Golden Delicious. So, lots of market stalls now. A lot of them disappeared in August, but they all seem to be back. And we have vintage clothes. Music. I see a Leonard Skinner record, Ebbe, Beatles, reggae. Led Zeppelin. I mean, you have to admit that Led Zeppelin is a pretty stupid name, but if they were going to make the contrast, couldn't they at least have spelt lead properly? Fish. Homemade jewellery. More homemade jewellery. Very colourful. Vapes and watches. Olives and Turkish delight and stuff. Greek. Hi there. I was just talking about your strudels. Could I take a photo? Or a video, rather?
Yes.
That's great. Cheers. Persian, which looks very healthy with lots of salads. Korean. Goan. Hi. Yes, thanks. I'm just taking a few photos of the market. These.
Hello. How are you?
Tell them what you sell.
Welcome to Flavors of Goa, South Indian style food. All our curries come with rice. You get dal and potato peas with your curry. That's like a vegan box here as well. Chickpea spinach, spicy option, mixed veg coconut mild option. Hello guys, come
Thank
have
you.
a taste if you like.
Thank you. They're one of the few genuinely vegetarian options round here. They're really nice. Lebanese.
I'm the better sister.
Chinese. These are a good snack, the arancini, the rice balls. Big arancini. And that looks like, yeah, that's another Persian. Thai. These are nice too, the Sri Lankan. And they're great. Hi there. I'm just showing the stalls that I like. I'm not normally here now to eat at the right time, but I wanted to tell them about you.
Is that red?
Looks like there's a graduation on too. If it's the 7th today, then in a week's time, it'll be the 14th, obviously, and I think that is the University Alumnus weekend, or alumnus and alumna. Different colleges used to have their students coming back at different times of year for reunions, generally on the Saint Day associated with the college name. The university has now standardised on mid-September, and colleges will throw events for their alumni, and the university will throw a few events on top of that, and I think that happens next weekend. That cafe has a huge library of board games, common ones and much less common ones, and it seems to be very popular this afternoon. A meeple, apparently, is the counter or token that you use on board games to indicate yourself. So in Monopoly, a meeple is a thing like a dog or a boot or a hat.
Like a really intense one.
That's Just In Time Coffee, run by Justin, where I had a cappuccino a bit earlier.
I've set myself up for breakfast, so
Hello. Say hello, thanks. Yes, I was saying earlier how much I liked your colours.
Thank you.
Very delicate too, the jewellery.
It's a upcycling,
Yes,
handmade by myself. Yeah.
right.
Yes.
And how much, can I ask how much?
Normally I do £6 each,
Ah.
2 for 10.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like the little drawing.
Thank you. I was a graphic designer.
Oh, were you? I didn't
Yes.
know that.
I worked in Tokyo many
Yes,
years.
right.
Yeah, later I have to quit my job because my daughter was retired, so
Right.
young, so no one helped me to looking after her. So
Right.
then I turned to
It's a jewellery. And
jewellery.
the scarves are yours, aren't they?
yes, but those no.
But you
just
didn't-
bought. This one I bought
Ah.
handmade by myself. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's original.
These
colour.
these ones, or
Those yeah.
oh,
Those are handmade by
that's
myself.
right.
Original.
Handmade by yourself.
Yes.
So are those what they call kawaii style?
Yes.
For-
Kawaii is
Forgive
just-
my pronunciation.
No, you speak very well.
Very cute
Thank
style.
you.
Yes. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah. Have a lovely day. Yeah.
I will. Bye. I don't think I know this artist. And then we have another handmade jewellery stall here. and jewellery based on stones. So that's the market. This is Friar's Entry, which goes back onto the main street. This is Beaumont Street, and it won't be nearly as busy. It's mainly doctors, dentists, one or two businesses, the Ashmolean and university departments. And that is Worcester College, the focus of the street. This is St John's Street, and again it's very quiet. That's the University Sackler Library. Deals with, well, that, art, archaeology and the ancient world.
They make a trouser. They make a very good trouser.
No, they're all very unique. It's very.
This is a nice secluded little street. It's called Beaumont Buildings. And like St John's Street, it's owned by St John's. I think one or two famous people have lived here. I'd have to look it up. The only one that I can remember offhand, I think Lyle Watson, who once wrote a popular sort of new age or pseudoscience book called Supernature, lived in one of these houses. This is the northern half of St John's Street, and that's St John's Street looking towards Beaumont Street. That's looking towards St Giles. And that is St John's College on the other side of St Giles. You'll see more of St Giles in videos that I make over the next few days, because there's going to be a big fair there. There's traditionally always a fair at the beginning of September, and they'll set up tomorrow, Sunday, and then the fair will be held Monday and Tuesday, and then they'll pack up Tuesday night and be gone by Wednesday morning. For the duration of the fair, St Giles is completely closed to traffic, and the buses have to reroute and probably go round Broad Street. That's the Department for Continuing Education, where you can pay to take various diplomas and certificates, and do this remotely if you're not actually living in Oxford. This is Wellington Square, which is largely student accommodation and bits of university departments. So that is Department for Continuing Education, and so is that. There's a little park in the middle. Which I shall walk round. You'll see that it's slightly lower than the ground around it. Sorry, hello. Do you mind being in the photo? I was just going past.
Yeah, sure. I don't care.
Cheers.
Oh, I love your outfit.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's great. You work in fashion.
Right, I got distracted, so I'm walking round the park that's in the middle of Wellington Square. And I have actually shown you part of Wellington Square before. The brutalist university accommodation block here and the brutalist university administration building there. One change is that, as I've remarked before, it's much more autumnal suddenly. All the leaves are falling. For people who've come into my videos recently and for whom this is the first one, yes, this is Oxford, but Oxford is not all beautiful 1,000-year-old architecture lovingly hand-carved by masons, stonemasons that is. A lot of it is absolutely terrible architecture that was probably thrown together with a computer-aided design program in 1960, if they had such programs then. This, for example, I've done this before, but I may as well do it again, just to indicate the full horror of the performance. This is the front entrance, I suppose you call it, of the university accommodation block. And it contains one of the trademark carelessnesses of such buildings. The stained concrete. Designed with such lack of care that it takes the stains and never cleaned, probably never cleaned. Yes, I don't know what that is doing there. That's Wellington Street. That is now a university department, I think. So let's enjoy ourselves and walk up as if we'd come from Little Clarendon Street. I think the only thing that actually enjoys this building is the rosebay willow herb and other plants growing in the cracks. Okay, well that's Wellington Square. And I'm just going to walk round Wellington Square very quickly on the outside of the park. So I'm walking around Wellington Square, just about to go south, and what I want to explain is why number 35, I think it's 35, is called the Pendulum. Because this probably features in Oxford folklore even less than the origin of the Keble dinosaur. But as far as I know, although these are now university departments, they were once used as student houses, and student houses have a way of accumulating slugs and squalor and general mess and messing around. And in honour of this, one of the houses next door, I don't know whether it was 34 or 36, got called the Pit, which in British English can refer to somewhere that's just generally very, very untidy. Your house is a pit. Same meaning as your house is a tip. Okay, and then the people who lived in number 35 decided to call their house the Pendulum because it was next to the pit. And of course there's the Edgar Allan Poe story, The Pit and the Pendulum. And they thought they might as well immortalise this name, and I'm rather glad to see that it is still there. So that is why 35 Wellington Square is called the Pendulum. Right, well, that's the reason I wanted to walk round Wellington Square, and I've now done it. So I'm going back onto Little Clarendon Street. Isn't this a mess? Not only do the people who commission buildings not care how they look. But the people who own various bits of infrastructure, or at least who run various bits of infrastructure, don't care how that looks either. Some bits of Oxford look much more like one of those 1960s post-nuclear wasteland science fiction films than they do a beautiful city like Florence or Prague or wherever you might think Oxford might hope to match architecturally. We have here one of the world's greatest collections of pigeon-borne infectious diseases. Some poor sod without a house. Another derelict shop.
No, my school's really, really close. But it is a really good one.
Well, after that collection of horrors, I'm glad to see that Gibbo's decoration is still flourishing. This is George and Davis, one of Oxford's 3 independent ice cream cafes. St Giles Church, and Taylor's, which is the cafe that I tend to use when I'm round here. Passing St Giles Church. Now I'm coming to the famous Keble dinosaur, which I talked about the origin of a few weeks ago. This is Blackhall Road.
After that, I read my contract and everything on the company. And I spoke with my brother-in-law. So he scolded me. Why did you do this?
I don't like that. I think because the general light level is lower than it has been for quite a few weeks, it's overcast, whereas most of the previous days have been sunny. The white framing on this stands out much more than it did last time I saw it, and it's very sort of visually distracting, especially against the stone wall. That's nice. With the overgrowth. And I like the way that the overgrowth in the foreground blends visually into the shrub or tree and the big tree in the background. That's very nice. Wellcome Trust, Paleogenomics and Bioarchaeology Research Network. I'd have thought the Wellcome Trust had enough money to fund something a bit more elegant and a bit more robust than that. This is the Natural History Museum. And I did quite a few stills of the exhibits earlier this year, but you can get a lot of enjoyment just by looking at the carving on the outside. I really need a better camera, I think, than this gives me, but it'll give you an idea. And I like their gardening style too. That would make a lovely design to put on a ball gown. Very good coffee from Horsebox. So those are one or two of the museum's carvings. This is Parks Road, and this section of Parks Road up to Broad Street is, well, it's a sort of road for going places rather than for stopping. You don't really think of stopping here to get shopping or anything else, or going somewhere at the other end. And I'm wearing shorts. Immediately I feel the temperature dip by a degree or two. There's something to do with the trees, I think. And it becomes fresher It's still a little humid, though probably not... Sorry, it's still quite humid, though not quite as humid as yesterday when the humidity was said to be 94%. But it's definitely fresher under these trees than it was near the museum. That wall is St John's. That, I believe, is the house of the warden or principal or whatever Wadham College has, the head of the college. That gate is Trinity College's rather than St John's. And that is Trinity.
ما أخذ مني إذن. Well, compared to Little Clarendon Street, I really don't think I can have many complaints about these buildings, even that one. And certainly compared to George Street. This is a very popular pub called the King's Arms. And I like being outside when you can and in the light front room when you can't. I was going to say, but I'll leave it till it's quieter, I also recommend Young's Chocolate Stout, which is a bottled beer made by Young's Brewery of London, who the King's Arms is tied to, and with a chocolate flavour. I think the chocolate flavour comes from the way the malt is roasted, because I don't believe there's actually any chocolate in the beer, but it's certainly worth trying. If you're in the pub and you want one to drink straight away, ask for one from the shelf, because then it'll be at room temperature, and the alternative is one from the refrigerator, which will numb your taste buds. This is Hollywell Street. This is the Oxford Print Centre, this charming little building. I like them because they've printed many of my cartoons, but anybody who comes to Oxford to do a thesis will probably find themselves dealing with these people as regards printing and binding. Right, well, I like the King's Arms. I like the Turf Tavern too, although it can get very crowded. And the Turf Tavern is probably better known.
There's a yard of ale.
Let's go to TBC. Then you get from the top of the library. Sometimes I always find it funny that some people in my camera are just part of that like picture forever, and there must be so many pictures of me in someone's camera roll from their trip. Yeah,
Like a stampede. So we could have that as well, couldn't we?
Thanks. So that's the Turf Tavern.
What would you think his full name was?
Gusword? I didn't give it a lot of thought, to be honest with you.
Gusword. Oh. That's a good dead end. Let's go that this way.
Now that is much more crowded than last time I came because so many people are back. This is New College Lane, and I did a video about Edmund Halley, and I also walked the lane. That's the Sheldonian. And I'm standing under the Bridge of Sighs. Which means that in the past minute, probably about 3 dozen people have now got photos of me on their phones. Bodleian quadrangle. The outside of the Bodleian and Brasenose College and the Radcliffe Camera and All Souls. coming onto the high street. No problem.
But you know,
This used to be a continuous row of shops, and then Oriel College caused King Edward Street to be built.
How X is X? Because I need to know before I put my phone down.
That's Christ Church. That's Oriel on the other side. And this is another famous Oxford pub, the Bear. Obviously, I just need to add that I am obviously not going to do every pub in Oxford, or even every pub in the city centre. There are too many. There are, I'm not sure, at one time there were over 170 pubs within the Ring Road. And I know that because I visited them all. Some of them may have gone out of business now. Quite a lot of pubs have been closed. But there are still a lot. And this is the pub that has glass cases full of ties, neckties, the things you wear around your neck, on its walls. I don't know whether I can see one without annoying people. Probably not. It's mega crowded in there. But the custom somehow grew up that customers would donate to the landlord and to the pub display the tie of their college or their club or whatever. As you can see, this is very popular. And it claims that it's Oxford's oldest pub. I can't remember when the Turf Tavern claims. That's looking towards Cornmarket, and immediately on my right I have the town hall. Now that is a more typical sort of Oxford pub. It doesn't claim to be the oldest or the most famous, or to have parts of any famous buildings built into it. It just sets out to be somewhere that sells good beer and is nice and cosy to drink in, and hopefully has somewhere to sit outside in the summer. That is the St Aldate's Tavern. Main post office. And I could make the same remark about the Old Tom as I just made about the St Aldate's Tavern. The shred of light at the back is because there's a back door that gives into a little garden. That's Christ Church and Old Tom. This is one feature of Oxford, tutorial colleges. Any number of tutorial colleges teaching anything they can think of. That is the second G&D ice cream cafe. This one is George and Danver. The one in Little Clarendon Street was George and Davis. This street has the Children's Story Museum in it, and it's probably slightly better known to the average person for also having a back entrance to Marks and Spencer. Now I'm entering the Westgate Shopping Centre. The Sainsbury's has been here, I think, since the 70s. And it always seems curiously apart from the new Westgate, which was built in 2017. It's sort of off to one side down an approach, which looks different from the rest of the ground, the rest of the flooring. Right, and I'm now passing out of the Westgate as hurriedly as I can, because frankly I don't need any of the stuff they sell. I don't need a watch from Ernest Jones, because I got one from the animal charity shop the other week. I don't need any clothing from Superdry. I don't need clothing from River Island. I can see a River Island anytime I want by walking down the Thames. And all the shops here, the clothing is boring and colourless and grey, and not the sort of thing you want to look at all, and it's made of really crappy fabrics. And just about every shop in the Westgate seems to sell clothing. And I don't want anything from Victoria's Secret lingerie or whatever it's called either. This is looking towards New Road, and that's the Swan and Castle. I think it's a Wetherspoons. Yes, it is. So this is another style of city pub. Again, very different from the Turf and the Bear and the King's Arms. Say what you like about Wetherspoon. Last time I went, they did have a reasonable range of beers, which they changed quite frequently. And they kept the beer fairly well too. But because the pubs are so large, I've not been in one since the pandemic. That's the castle, which is named after Oxford Castle. The main thing I remember about that pub is, and I'm never quite sure why we did this or why I did it, having a beer, not liking it, and then climbing out through the back window of the toilet rather than going out of the front door in the customary fashion. Hello, everyone is in the garden. That's the shopping centre again, the Westgate. You can't get away from it. That's the Jolly Farmers. And that's up towards the north end of the Westgate. I came down those steps. There's people who've been graduating.
It'll never be like, there'll be nothing that's like, one of, like, you know, people, like, yeah, anyway, people running around, there's like, dying competition.
That's an interesting building, an ecological roof, or whatever you call it. I don't know whether that's just for show or to take a little bit of carbon dioxide out of the air, or whether it's supposed to provide other resources. Is that salad, for example? Can you eat it? I quite fancy some rocket with some nice Portuguese olive oil and an artisanal goat's cheese from the Alentejo, if so. Indeed, it would be rather nice if you could genetically engineer cows until they're the size of mice, and then they could graze on that roof, not worry too much if they fell off because they'd be small enough for the fall not to damage them. And they could give milk, which you could automatically turn into cheese. And when the cows got a bit older, you could eat them too. Win-win. That used to be Morell's Brewery, now it's flats.
Yeah, it was so bad.
The coach was packed as well. He's probably the sort that...
Well, he's clearly had most of it.
That's Nuffield College. And now I'm coming back onto George Street. This path leads on the left to George Street and on the right to Bullock's Lane, which I did in an earlier Continuous Oxford, where I explained that Bullock's Lane seems to be named after a person called Bullock, who was a street sweeper or similar. There's another Wetherspoons. That's the University History Faculty. now I'm passing Gloucester Green and the market.
I like them because
And now I'm coming to the end of George Street. The Grapes looks busy. And what's really disappointing is that although this has taken me some time, Debenhams is still derelict, and so is NatWest. Nothing at all is being done to use them or even tidy them up. So I'll see you next time.